Alright, hello everybody, and welcome back to another Limbus Company video. Today, we are going to be playing through the main finger fights in the Canto 9 Part 3. Now, normally I pretty much don't make any videos on the actual, like, you know, cantos themselves, because frankly speaking, it's like, I don't know, it's just not the type of content I do, to be honest. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like I should make something on it, you know what I mean? And it's like, this canto is interesting enough, right, to actually warrant doing it, I'd say. Specifically because, like, there are a lot of these fights, and it makes a pretty coherent narrative, in my opinion, for an actual, like, solid video. Anyways, we're gonna be doing this in order, and, minor spoilers in this video, actually, because obviously it's the, you know, part 3 of the Canto, so, yeah. There will be some spoilers, but like most of the major spoilers, aka the actual like true ending of these fights, I should say. Yeah, I'm not gonna be showing like any of that. So I might in the future if like enough people want me to make a video on that, but like otherwise, no. In any case. To start with, we're up against the Ring. They're the first. And obviously, like, the most notable thing about this fight is the fact that, like, you get Hohenheim and Alyssa fighting alongside you as your allies. And it's like, unironically, like, this fight is definitely the hardest fight out of all 4 of them. Technically 5. If you include the final boss, but like, yeah, this is the only fight that I consider to be actually difficult, because it's the only one that's an actual like real fight, in my opinion. And anyways, it's also got my favorite thing about the entire Canto, if I'm being completely honest, and that's the fact that Hohenheim is wearing the Big Bird Ego gear. It's totally fan servicey beyond all belief, but like, my god, does it do its job right? Like, don't get me wrong, like all of the plot developments, I should say, they're pretty cool too, but they don't top Hohenheim wearing Big Bird's ego gear, let me just say that much. In any case, my actual strategy for this fight in particular was just, I wanted to use, you know, Ardor Blossom Faust because Alyssa's here, and so we have 2 Ardor Blossom ego gears in the fight, which it's actually interesting because Hohenheim has a passive actually that gives him more offense level if you have the more characters that are wearing the ego gear there are. And technically speaking, you could have a full team of just ego gear in this fight if you use, you know, Sloshmail and Talisman Sinclair as well, but like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. That would be miserable, especially considering the fact that this is an actual fight, you know? And it's like, I'm not gonna use them for just a gimmick without an actual good reason for it. In any case, this fight in particular, like, this is the only fight that I did multiple times. All the other ones I beat on my basically first attempt, right? But this one in particular, I did 3 times. I only failed once, and then the second time I wasn't actually recording, so I had to go back and, you know, beat it again. But anyways, the reason why I failed the first time is because this was the team I picked to use. Like, I wanted to use, you know, Ardor Blossom Faust, and then it's like, because she's a burn identity, I'm like, I want to use burn units as well, so I picked Philip Sinclair because, you know, he's fresh on my mind. I just made a video about him after all. And then I picked, you know, Captain Ishmael because, honestly, I forgot that Leo Ishmael existed. And so, yeah, picked her instead. And it was that very pick of both Captain Ishmael and, you know, Ardor Blossom Faust that caused me to lose in the first place because, frankly speaking, this fight isn't that difficult if you know what you're doing. But the reason why I failed was because, like, yeah, Captain Ishmael, like, on turn 1, I used, like, two skill 2s, and they both triggered a skill 1 on Ardor Blossom Faust, which then instantly shot up her burn stack to, like, 50 plus, and it became literally impossible for me to lower that, like, at all. And the worst part about, like, using Ardor Blossom Faust in this fight in particular is the fact that, like, even though she's immune to, you know, dying to burn damage, is like, as you can see right there at the end there, if you caught it, the burn damage still triggers the K-Corp ampules. So it's just like the actual ring members, they didn't really do much in the time I lost because I was honestly playing it fine. But then Faust's burn damage, it just devoured all of the K-Corp ampules, and I didn't have enough health to be able to survive it at the end. So yeah, once I realized that was a bad idea, it's just, you gotta manage Ishmael's skill 2s to make sure that you don't reuse too many skill 1s for Faust. Or if you do, you'd use a lot of, like, you know, defense skills to be able to remove the burn damage. Also, one of the biggest problems with Captain Ishmael as well is the fact that she just doesn't have very good clash power, because she doesn't really have any, like, coin power boost to buff her up, and so it's like, when you're trying to clash against Callisto, she struggles a lot. And because of that, it's like, I have to rely on using Blind Obsession a lot, because she just doesn't have the clash power for it, to be honest. So yeah, that's one reason why Leo Ishmael would be better here, because she actually gets the coin power boost from having a burn stack. So yeah, it's like the ring, they're actually pretty easy to beat, to be honest. It's like, you just gotta attack them whenever they're using their lust skills to make sure that, like, their clash power doesn't go too ridiculously high, and then Hohenheim can beat their skill down, and you just keep doing that and don't take too much damage. And then it's like, Callisto also has another skill where he basically immobilizes you by turning you into a piece of art for a turn. And it's like, that is slightly debilitating because, you know, you're down a character for a turn, so that's -2 skill slots, but it's like, it's fine because the same turn he does that, Alyssa also uses a skill that targets the artwork, if you will. He does it right here on this turn, so you'll see in a second, but yeah. So you don't have to worry about it, like, at all, because Alyssa breaks you out of it. Always.
관객의 적극적인 참여 나쁘지 않군요.
총원, 조명이 전멸하는 저곳으로 파도가 모든 것을 쳐부술 거다.
honestly, I don't really have much else to say about this fight.
함께 파헤쳐볼까요? 당신에게 아름다움을.
It's the only one that's like actually difficult because, you know, they just do a lot of chip damage.
전방위 공격이 감지되었습니다.
And you don't have like some overpowered character backing you up too, so yeah.
힘으로 밀어내야 합니다.
Hohenheim's strong, but he's not overpowered like the color fixers in the other fights. Yeah, as you can see right there, Alyssa just breaks Ishmael out of captivity, if you will.
걷잡을 수 없이.
And then the rest of the fight is just taking down Callisto.
연구자는 이따위 위급품에 관심 없네.
호이나임 씨가 잘해주셨네요.
당신이
곧
들린
무릎
서로
꿇을
다른
거예요.
세계 피가 어우러지면 예술적이네요.
총원 돌격!
이 격정 속에서 타올라라. 차. 관객의 적극적인 참여 나쁘지 않아.
저놈을 추적해!
함께 파헤쳐볼까요? 당신에게 아름다움.
선원들, 나를 보호해라.
해체 억압 진행하겠습니다.
이 빌어먹을 것들 전부 다 올려라!
And yeah, once you bring Callisto down to half health, it's like he does this skill which immobilizes everybody. And then, as expected from the, you know, Ardor Blossom
아리사 씨.
ego gear, it's like, yeah, Alyssa decides to self-detonate. Very cool. Well, technically speaking, it's not really an insta-kill effect like Faust is, but because it doesn't actually kill her, it just ends the fight. But like, I think it's implied that she dies here, or like she's supposed to. She doesn't actually die, but yeah. Anyway, next fight after that one is the middle.
중요한 순간에 뒤를 막.
This fight is honestly not a fight at all, if I'm being completely honest.
일기당천.
It's a very cool fight because you get to see the, you know, the distortion detective in action here, which it's like, I think that was Project Moon's like intention, is to basically be like, hey, look at how cool and badass these characters are. I bet you want to read the distortion detective now, don't you? But if I'm being completely honest, this fight is literally just a glorified cutscene. I mean, your entire purpose here is to just defeat Kira, really, because the real boss is Kira, and then you have everybody else fighting Matthias in the back. And it's like, you can't really clash against him either, because he just rolls ridiculously high, so you have to... You just let the LCD deal with him, and then you defeat Kira, and then you win. It's literally a glorified cutscene. There's no strategy here at all, other than just let them do their job, and you'll win.
모든 것에 견뎠어.
자색의 피. 저들은 더욱 몰아칠 걸세.
Kira herself doesn't actually do anything that interesting either.
본인이 하지.
Like, she's just a pretty typical, like, middle member. They both are, to be honest. Like, they got scary counters, but only Matthias actually. And that's honestly the biggest reason, like, what makes this fight actually difficult. And I say difficult with a pretty big asterisk next to it. Because this fight is the fight that has the most, like, K-Core Vampules, 6. And that is purely because of what Matthias does at the once you end up defeating Kira, because yeah, his counter basically one-shots you every single time he uses it, so you definitely need those K-Core Vampules. And yeah, it's like every fight from this point on has like some of the sinners using their egos just randomly, you know. I don't really know what triggers it, to be honest, for like any of them, except for a couple. They're like pretty obvious. But like that one right there, it's like it felt completely random for, you know, Don Quixote to just use that skill there. But maybe it's like that was I forget his name, but the yellow harpooner. It's like when he uses his big skill 3, then Don Quixote follows up with that or something like that. At least the first time he uses it. Anyway, another reason why this fight's actually pretty easy is definitely because I'm using Lord Honglu, and he's overpowered. And frankly, the main reason why I'm using him here is just because, like, you're so limited in the amount of, like, characters you can actually use. Most of the, like, my favorite types of teams to build are, like, the combo characters, you know? Like, so things like, you know, the Full Stop Duo, or Contemptra, Ryoshu, and Fellow Isong. Characters like those, you know, where they have a lot of synergy with one another. And it's like, of these 3 characters, the only real, like, synergy you have is Lord Honglu and, you know, the Heishos. But obviously I don't want to use Heisho Don Quixote. So, yeah, we just have Horse Song.
자색의 피. 저들은 더욱 몰아칠 걸세.
일기당천.
In any case, right here is like, yeah, this is why you need the 6 K-Core Vampules. Because he literally just one-shots you with a single counter, because he's so much stronger. Granted, technically speaking, you don't need to do that. You could just, like, not attack at all and just wait for, you know, the LCD to deal with him, but that's boring.
잠시 뒤로 물러나시겠습니다.
경각이 달아였네. 방심하면 몰아칠 터.
펼칠 필요도 없겠군.
Guts reference, okay. Oh, he's literally Guts. That's hilarious.
쓸모가 있으려면
Could hardly be called a sword. It was more like a hunk of white hot metal.
넘고 무수히 넘고 얼마든지 꺾고 제쳐라. 국민
That is pretty funny, though. I was not expecting a Guts reference. At least not for a middle member, anyways. Maybe as like a different color fixer or something, right? But like, not a middle member.
줄어들고 있었다는 겐가.
Because it's like Guts would be a perfect color fixer, right? He'd just be like he'd be called the Black Swordsman, right? It's right there.
꺾고 제쳐라. 오야. 길을 열어라. 겹겹의 주문. 정보를 펼칠 필요도 없겠군.
I don't know. It's not out of the picture to have a second Guts reference. You know what I mean? And the pinky. This fight's really long. I don't know how much of it I'm gonna actually show because it's pretty much all the same. Like most of it is. Because the win condition of this fight is you have to break through her shield like 4 times in a row, and then you get her down to half health after that. So it takes a very long time, let me say that much. And it's like, the team I chose is actually not particularly good, I'd say. Considering the fact that, like, you know, Blood Fiends, they do not do very well when attacking into shields. Because if you didn't know, it's like, any bleed damage that is done to shield, it doesn't actually contribute to your Blood Feast any. So it's like, these characters, they struggle a lot to actually build Blood Feast. And you can see that with Otis specifically. Like, Marcel is perfectly self-sustaining because he consumes so little Blood Feast, right? That the self-bleed he inflicts on himself is enough to support himself entirely. But for Otis, it's like she hardly ever gets any of her status effects, so because there's no bleed. There's no Blood Feast at all in this fight. Because the second you break their one shield, it's like the next turn it instantly comes back to full. So yeah, not the best units to bring into this fight, but they're still pretty decent. In any case, the actual like main strategy of this fight and what makes it so easy is the fact that like Ryoshu is unkillable. She can take as much damage as possible and she will never die. That's why she doesn't have any of the K-Corp ampules, by the way. Because if she did have the K-Corp ampules, then it would be a similar thing to, you know, how Ardor Blossom Faust just devoured the K-Corp ampules with her self-burn. So it's like she doesn't need any because she's literally immortal. And that makes this fight particularly easy, I'd say. I mean, it's not easy because, like, yeah, there is a lot of AoE damage going on. And if you're not careful, then it can get out of control pretty easily.
가면 지겠는걸. 단테, 좀 좋은 생각 없어?
떨거지는 잘라낸다.
So yeah, I'm gonna just basically skip through most of this fight because it's basically just this. You clash against her however as you can and have Ryoshu tank the big hits when he can't. And that's basically it. It does make it a little difficult because there is a lot of like attack weight on this fight too. So it's like, even if Ryoshu is the one clashing against something, it's like, there's still the possibility that your other units will take most of the damage and die because of it.
오늘도 정의로운 날이 될 수 있도록 힘내자. 다 함께 아르카나 빛.
퍼레이드와 휘날레 따스한 피 명물 왕의 비를 하사한다.
괜찮으세요?
소리가 들리는 것 같군.
그 공격에
Honestly, I'd say if you want to get through this fight quickly, the best way to do it is actually with burn damage.
속박했습니다. 짧지만 전투의 효율을
And yeah, here Marcel uses his ego skill for absolutely no reason at all. I mean, it's like it doesn't make any sense because on the next turn, it's like this boss doesn't do anything special at all. So honestly, it's pretty useless to use that there, but whatever.
좀더 힘줘서 해볼까?
정지.
In any case, as I was saying about burn damage, right? It's like burn is the best to get through this fight quickly because, you know, burn is a very sticky status effect.
좋은 수였다고 보네.
And because of that, it's like you can support it very easily with only like 2 characters, right? And more importantly than that, it's like because Otis is in this fight, you get Magic Bullet Otis, and that helps to speed up the fight a lot. Like if I use those 2 identities instead of the Blood Fiends, it's like, you know, Thumb Merceau and, you know, Magic Bullet Otis. This fight would be done in like, I don't know, 5 turns? Something like that?
절묘한 하나비였군.
Probably a little longer than that. Probably more like 8, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, it takes it... If you're doing maximum damage, like, every single turn, it's minimum of 5 turns. Because you have to break through 4 different shields, and then you have to also do half of her health and just regular damage after all of the shields are broken, so... Yeah, 5 turns minimum. Probably would take around like 8, actually.
이곳으로 마무리 짓겠습니다, 관리자님. 연거리 격발!
Honestly, Otis's ego makes the most sense out of everybody's to use.
상담 프로그램을 진행할
I guess also Don Quixote's was fine when she used that, but like... Otis's ego doesn't really do much on its own. Like, its biggest thing is that it gives her a lot of damage boost if she's not actually taking damage.
칼은 기다리는 거 못해.
Which is helpful,
100초만 기다려줄게.
but still.
휘날레
It's there for a nice cinematic effect, and that's basically it.
왕의 비 하사한다. 베르투레 왕의 비 하사한다.
기도라. 이래서 장비는 속성별로 준비해달라고 부탁했지. 적재적소했으니까 이만큼 효율적인 일도 없잖아.
좋아. 얼른 끝내고 밥 먹으러 가자고.
오늘도 정말 멋진 활약이었어.
You got Virgilius in the background. That's cool. This is what the middle fight should have been, because it was basically a glorified cutscene with the other color fixer. Just saying. And yeah, here we have the middle fight. It's a pretty easy one, if I'm being honest. Like most of these fights are pretty easy. Other than the ring, I'd say they're all easy, to be honest. Of course, easy doesn't include getting ridiculously unlucky, but yeah. Sometimes you just gotta roll with the punches. But anyways, as for the actual team I chose, I wanted to use W Corp Heathcliff because he's cool. I like him. I think he's my favorite Heathcliff identity, if I'm being completely honest. Just because I like his playstyle of being immobilized for a turn and like taking a bunch of damage to get a power up. And then we have, you know, Knight of Despair Rhodia, because I also like her. It's just coincidental that she's the strongest identity in the game, you know. And then, of course, Linton Gregor, because we have Singing, and I'm like sort of like double up on that. So yeah, pretty standard team composition, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, technically speaking, it's like W Corp Heathcliff isn't the best here because, yeah, he has no sinking, so he does end up killing the sinking stack, but then again, it's like we're fighting enemies with sanity, and therefore, like, actually maintaining the sinking stack is kind of pointless. Especially when you aren't using, like, any... Like, we're incapable of using a Yisong identity, right? So, no Spice Bush, no... No Spice Bush, no Butterfly. And, yeah, this is when Valentina shows up and crashes the party and does literally nothing. It's like, it's still a glorified cutscene at this point, right?
말했잖아. 이 눈으로 막을 수 있다고.
언제까지 발버둥 칠 수 있을 거라 생각하지?
I mean, seriously, just look at that last interaction and tell me that wasn't like super cutscene heavy. Virgilius clashes against her, fails to hit her because of her precognition, and then the final one, he breaks through it and actually hits her as he's taunting her. And it's like at this point, it's like because Virgilius shows up and gives you over 600 shield every single turn, it's like we're basically immortal at this point. There's no threat at all. So you do everything else like every other fight. You kill Lucio, and then you focus on the Nurse Father. And in the meantime, you watch the cutscene of Virgilius beating the shit out of her. Honestly, my favorite interaction with her is the fact that, like, while she's dodging, she she starts to taunt you, and then if you peek through it, she just stops and swears. It's funny. But yeah, this fight's like, nothing that interesting if I'm being honest. This is probably the most interesting part right here, is the fact that, like, yeah, Knight of Despair Rhodia actually rolls higher than, you know, her precognition with that skill 3. It rolls 28, and then the precognition only rolls a 27 at max, so it's like, yeah, can't dodge that. Unfortunately, Solemn Lament does absolutely nothing because precognition still dodges that, and it only reuses the coin on hit, so yeah. That was honestly the main reason why I wanted to use Linton Gregor, is so that I could take advantage of the Solemn Lament. You know, synergy with him and his plus coin power, but it's like, didn't work because of the precognition. Unfortunate.
아니 다 이게 뭔 이게 뭔 모조리 해체해주지. 그딴 자세로는 내 그딴 자세로는 내가 웃기도 못 쓰지.
내주지.
방해되니까 빠져 있어. 루치오, 넌 티켓이 까먹은 걸 전부 가르쳐주기 전까지 돼지면 안 돼. 알겠어?
암호 시동 체크.
이게 뭔? 모조리 해체해주지.
Honestly, one of the main, like, strategies of this fight, or I should say, one of the main, like, gimmicks of this fight is the fact that Virgilius, he redirects his clashes depending on what you do, right? And so, like, literally every single turn, he makes the worst decisions possible, and then you have to correct him because he's stupid. And it's like, that's the main gimmick of these the thumb fight. And by extension, the next second half of it, which is major spoilers, so I'm not even gonna say what it is. But in any case, it's like this skill right here, Disposal. There was no reason for us to clash against that with Heathcliff. Like, that should have been a skill that Virgilius clashed against, but I did not do the proper redirection. Not that it matters, because, yeah, we can still clash against it.
얼마나 썼다고 벌써.
암호 시동 체크.
Anyways, I will say this right now, right here, and yeah, I am going to show the end cutscene of this fight, so major spoiler alert. Click off now if you don't want to be spoiled about Canto 9.
그만 하지 그래. 당신 이미 중상을 넘어섰어.
당신 생각은 어떠십니까? 요시히데님이라면 이쯤에서 전투를 포기하셨을 거라고 생각하나요? 애초에 이런 상황에 놓이지 않을 거라고.
몇 번이나 말했지. 그런 엉뚱한 데 말고 심장을 노리라고. 내가 수없이 시범 보였잖아. 어? 저런 허접한 새끼들한테 밀리는 걸 진짜 내 눈앞에서 보여줄 거냐?
에이, 시끄러워 죽겠네. 네 아비한테 좀 닥치라고 전해주면 안 되겠냐?
언젠간 이런 날이 올 거라고 예상하고 있었습니다. 하지만 적어도 저를 습득해 주셔야 했을 요시히데님과 직접 겨뤄보다가 끝이 나길 원한다면 다음 교본이 될 상대에게도 알려줄 수 있지 않습니까? 저의 어디가 잘못되었는지, 어디서부터 다시 고쳤어야 하는지.
이봐, 잠깐.
심장을 뚫어! 그 망할 놈의 심장을 뚫으라니까!
사과를 조각낸다.
네가 그러니까 교본에서 벗어나지 못하고 있는 거야!
어떤 건 딱딱했고 화석했고 물렀고
당신의 호흡도 흐트러지고 있군요. 이해합니다. 이 공간은 가끔씩 사람을 완전히 미치게 만들 때가 있으니까요.
단내가 퍼질 때마다 난 가끔
야, 너 괜찮은 거냐?
이... 이 하찮은 벌레 새끼가 지금 뭘 들고 있는 거야! 이 징그러운 새끼가!
예전보다 많이 나아진 것 같다. 나도. 그러고 보니까 그 환상체 이제 가호를 내려준 아이가 없어졌지? 다시 관리를 맡겨주실까?
And that's the four fingers of Canto 9. The index nurse father is going to get his own video separate because he's the final boss of the entire Canto. So, like, yeah. He'll get his own dedicated video. And if you guys want, then I will do another video on specifically the ending of each of these fights, because they all have a second, like, actual ending fight as well. And of course, that will also include, like, my actual major opinion on Canto 9 as a whole, I suppose, because, like, most of those fights are even more cutscene-like than these ones, I'll say that much. But anyways, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe and all that, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.